Merhaba, good afternoon, buenos dias, welcome to all of you. Glad all five of you are here. I'm very happy to see you. So thank you again. I'm very happy to be part of this event. I've been here a few times already to beautiful Istanbul. I actually live in beautiful Barcelona, so this is a little bit, quite a lot like Barcelona actually, in a lot of respects. My name is Chandru Shankar. I lead EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa for manufacturing distribution. I've been in Microsoft 11 years, so I started actually in services as a pursuit architect. Those of you that know the methodology SureStep, I was the architect of SureStep. I've written a couple of books on that, and then now I'm on the industry side because I actually started in manufacturing. I have a lot of experience in manufacturing. So today, I'm going to lay out the vision that we, Microsoft, have for the industry, for customers like yourselves. There's going to be, I'm going to be building on some of the presentations that our illustrious presenters have already done this morning. So when I get to a slide that has already been presented, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about it, but not delve too deep. Okay. So you've seen this before. Basically, our mission statement from our CEO Satya to empower every person, every organization to achieve more. But what does this mean with the three pillars that you've already seen? What is interesting is Satya's take on this. What he says is, it's not about dynamics on its own, it's about dynamics at the center of the company, which is so unique, which is so powerful when you think about it. Satya is one of those leaders that actually was in this division before he's now gone into all up Microsoft, and he really understands the power for organizations like yourselves, having dynamics at the center of it and being able to tap into the full power of Microsoft is so powerful for everybody. So, what is our vision for you? When we look at manufacturing distribution, we look at it as an end-to-end vision for you, right? What we look at is your value chain, from the customer to the supplier, or from the supplier to the customer, whichever way you want to look at it, everything in between. How do we optimize this for you? So when you look at the value chain, from plan to supply, to manufacture, distribute, sell, and then afterwards service. We pride ourselves in providing an end-to-end vision for you in all respects of it. I'm not going to go into every aspect of it, but when you think about procurement and sourcing, you think about e-procurement, you think about being able to do requisitions online, to being able to do supplier validity and visibility, and who's supplying on time, those kind of things, to production. When you think of production, we in Microsoft, especially with our product AX, this is actually a very powerful area for us. So when you think of production management, you think of, in manufacturing, you think of multiple types of manufacturing. You think of discrete manufacturing, with job scheduling. You think of process manufacturing with batch mode. You think of lean manufacturing with Kanban scheduling. All three we do, and we can do it in a single instance. That's powerful. So we have companies like the Royal Mint. When you think of Mint, they start with metal. They are melting copper, brass, metals to make the coins, and that starts in a batch mode. Then they go into discrete mode to actually stamp the coins, right? That's job scheduling. But they also make some specialty coins, and they do that in a lean Kanban environment. We can actually do all of this in a single instance. But there's actually also a fourth element. There's project-based accounting. When you think of large companies like shipbuilders, they don't make multiple ships. They make 2 or 3 of, limited number of ships a year. But every element of the cost they want to monitor. That's project accounting. Furniture companies do that. We do that very well as well. So when you think of all the elements of manufacturing, we support that very well. Then as you go on through the supply chain, warehousing, transportation, you've seen with our acquisitions in that area with Wax and Trax, we really have completed the value chain there, all the way up to a 3PL, maybe not to a 3PL, but from a warehousing, managing the wave picking, packing, and then all the way through to transportation, multi-mode transportation, etc. We actually have capabilities to support you throughout the vision. And then when you look at the customer aspect of it, managing the customers, that's where our brilliant CRM solutions come in. So what I've talked about before all this time is more on the ERP side. And I didn't, by the way, talk about plant maintenance with asset management, etc. But when you think about on the back end, I mean the front end with the customer facing, that's where CRM comes in. And again, there we'll talk about some aspects of how do we manage the sales interactions? How do we manage the marketing? And then, of course, the service aspect of it. So really, an end-to-end vision of our solutions for the customers. But you saw this slide before. Kareem talked about the workload approach. This is important for us. Why is this important? So Gartner defines something called the pace of change in an organization. The pace of change meaning what are some of the workloads that organizations don't necessarily change, or they take a long time to change because they don't necessarily need to? That's what Gartner called the systems of record, which are your administrative core workloads, right? These are your finance, your HR. Think about yourself as a company. When you have your general ledger, when you have your basic finance rules set up, you have your HR set up, you're not going to change that system per se. You're going to continue to tweak it, but you're not necessarily going to completely update the system. That's what Gartner calls the systems of record, the slowest pace of change. Where they talk about as your increased pace of change in an organization, where you need to be agile, where you need to be able to adapt to the changes in the environment, are the systems of differentiation and the systems of innovation. That's where your horizontal workloads like human capital management, projects, supply relationship management, Salesforce automation, things like that. Those are your horizontal layers, and then you get your vertical layers as well, your retail differentiation, your manufacturing differentiation, etc. And that's one of the things that we do very well with our CRM solutions for the customer relationship aspect of it, and then AX for the back office, the enterprise, the operations aspect of it. With AX, the one thing that I just want to point out is actually a single solution, right? So what does that mean? If you are a manufacturer today, tomorrow you want to start a retail part. Maybe you have some products that you want to go direct to consumer with. Maybe you're an automotive company and you're selling cars, but you might also have some merchandise that you want to sell. You don't have to go buy a new product. We just have to go instantiate that for you. So that's the power that we bring with Dynamics AX to you. So what I'm going to talk about is two aspects today. One is the intelligent customer engagement with Dynamics CRM, and then the other is the optimized operations with Dynamics AX. So how do we help customers be more customer-centric? I'm going to grab a sip of water. And that's with Dynamics CRM. Right? When you think about customer engagement and how it's evolving, this is an area where you look at all of us. We're constantly social. We wake up in the morning. The first thing we do is we got to go check our messages. We got to check our emails. We got to check what our action items are for the day. There are so many active users there already. And then the biggest part is IoT, the Internet of Things. When you think of what some of the analysts are talking about, 80 billion connected devices by 2025. What are we going to do with all the data? There is massive amounts of data there. There's nobody what are you going to do with that unless it actually becomes information? And that's where we come in, right? So as we look at our customer engagement solutions, you heard Jujar talk about this earlier today. We don't look at it as a single step. we don't look at it as somebody is in sales or somebody is in service or somebody else is in marketing. We look at it as a journey. We look at it as how do we provide solutions that give you that 360-degree view of the customer in a single solution. And we have customers that are doing this. So first off, you heard Jujar talk about this, but really, I mean, when the analysts look at a solution, they really look at it as revolutionary. What used to be just Salesforce.com winning all the awards, the last couple years, we pretty much lapped up the awards. So when you look at this, from the enterprise suite to the mid-market to Salesforce, case management, et cetera, we're just really standing out there in terms of that for the analysts. But let's talk about a couple of customers. Trek Bicycles. I don't know how many of you know about Trek Bicycles, how popular here it is, but this is a very popular bicycle manufacturer, definitely in Americas, but also in many parts of the world. So Trek Bicycle is kind of like a Harley Davidson of bicycles, right? So when you or I, if you own a Trek bicycle, you have a personal relationship with that. You don't just like go take it to get it serviced. You want to know what carbon shaft they're going to put in there, what other options are available, what new wheels are available, things like that. I mean, so you have a personal attachment to the bicycle. A lot of times you perform the services yourself as well. What is unique about Trek is they do zero sales directly. 100% of the sales is through dealers, but they have a one-to-one relationship with every customer. How are they able to do that? With dynamic CRM. So they have CRM installed with them through the dealers, and so they're able to know everything about you as a customer. What are you using? Which model you are on? Where are you in the life cycle? Are you considering new options, new bicycles? And they can constantly be in touch with you and provide you signals or campaigns that might get you to buy a new bicycle, or just upsell you on certain things. So that's that unique relationship that they are able to maintain with the customers, even though you purchased it through a dealer. That's just incredible. Then you have, of course, I'm a FCB Barcelona fan, but still, Real Madrid is another customer of ours, so I like them too. But when you think of Real, what they're doing with CRM is pretty amazing with the marketing and the social. So you heard Jujar talk about social listening. Social listening is a pretty unique what we are able to bring to the market now. Now with the launch of 3 additional languages, we're actually supporting up to 19 languages. We already had Turkish, and we're now also including Arabic. What does that mean? So when somebody says something in your native language, whether it's a kind of like it or not like it, if it's just a translation, it can easily go in different meanings. Think of English, think of Spanish. A word can mean different things where you are contextually. So we don't just translate it. We have native social and analytics in 19 different languages, and that just keeps improving. So big organizations like Real Madrid, they use our social listening. They use our marketing campaigns to send out these messaging to their customers based on specifically what their needs are or what their interests are. We had one sports team, for example, in the US that was considering, every time my quarterback throws a touchdown, what is my beer sales going up within the stadium? So those are kind of things that the owners are looking at, and they want to be constantly on some of these things to find out and use our solutions for. So the other major element is service. I think for our segment, manufacturing distribution, this is a huge, huge element. So when you think of service, what Jujar talked about earlier today is really game-changing for what we're doing with service. So now we are able to provide in a single data model customer service, customer care, project service, and field service. Single data model. What many of our competitors actually stitch together. So they buy competitor products and they've got it all separate, but you still need integration. Whereas with Dynamic CRM, you got a single data model. So you got a customer, that same customer exists across customer care, across field service, across project service. Why is that important? Again, let's take the automotive example. If I'm out there servicing this car outside at some other location, I need offline capabilities, I need access to my contracts, I need to know what maybe the customer care person has called and already promised to the customer, things like that. And you're not going to get all of that if they're all in separate systems. Think of the poor technician that's out there. He's got one device, he's got short window of time to perform this, has to have access to all the information as well as what are potential other service or cross-sell, upsell opportunities. We can do that with our solution, right? So one of the customers that I wanted to spend some time today to talk about is Safety Clean. So Safety Clean is kind of unique because they went through a full dynamic transformation. So who is Safety Clean, first off? Safety Clean actually makes these industrial parts washers, right? So these parts washers go into multiple of the industrial companies. They go, anything from a small part to a sub-assembly gets washed before it goes into the main assembly, right? And it's key because the parts may have chemicals, may have other solvents that can harm the next step in the assembly. And so they have to strip out all of that. So there is a cleaning of the parts, but then there's also a capture of that waste because that then has to be properly, recycled, etc. So when you think about that, that's what they do. They make these machines. But what's the other unique aspect of it is they don't necessarily sell the machines anymore to the companies. They sell a service. So they want to make sure there's about 500,000 machines out there across Europe. But these machines are deployed in the company, and what they are trying to determine is how much they're using it, how long the machines are running, are there any problems with it, etc., and make sure that the machines are up all the time so that the customer's getting value out of it. So that's what they do, right? So they've gone from a product, a machine company, to a service company. Again, in that service economy that many of our speakers talked about. What they had before was this manual, paper-driven process. Look at this process. Somebody actually prints out an invoice. Then it gets sent out to the branch. Then the branch person takes it and says, okay, this is right. There's some error here. Send it back. Oh, we got people here. We don't have the people here. There's all kinds of sorting going on there. And then it gets to the technician. And then the technician has to go see, oh, do I have spare parts? Yes, no. Such a complete manual process. Think about the wastage that's going on in this whole process, and amount of inefficiencies in the process. And when you think about all of those FTEs that I talked about earlier, there's so many problems with that. One, when you think about just the service, the variability, there's not that consistent service across the companies. That's one of the key things that the customer is trying to find. Then you talk about inventory turns. They were making parts, they still make parts for machines that may never ever get serviced, and there are other machines that actually need the spare parts, but they don't have them right now. So they could actually go improve the inventory turns 3 times more than what they're doing right now. So their vision, and that's where Dynamics comes in. They call it Project Clean Slate. They actually put the whole thing. So they've got CRM, of course. CRM gives the technicians the visibility to the contracts, etc. The actual inventory, spare parts inventory, that's all AX. In fact, the financials also are an AX. And then the field technicians, the scheduling of the technicians, the automated routing, etc., that's done on field 1. So when you think about the end-to-end vision that they're able to accomplish with Dynamics is incredible. Because we talked about them being a service-based company. Where they really want to get to is being able to determine who of their customers are profitable and charge them based on essentially the service that they're providing. Right now, it's based on volume. And 80, it's a classic 80-20 rule. Not necessarily that the 20% of the customers that are giving them 80% of the business are also the most profitable ones for them. Quite often, their contracts are so heavily reduced because of the volume, but actually when they look at the profitability, they're not actually that profitable with them. They're profitable with some other customers. So they're now able to get that visibility with Dynamics. So again, full paperless process flow is what they're able to get to, get the information out to their technicians on their devices, on their tablets, including all the way up to on-hand inventory availability. When you think of inventory, this is another classic aspect with AX. So when you think of warehousing, they have spare parts not just in the warehouses. Of course, they have multiple warehouses, but they also have spare parts that the drivers are carrying inside of their trucks. So sometimes I might be a technician that is servicing, a customer X in one part of Istanbul, and there's another of my colleague who's servicing another customer in another part of Istanbul, and I might need a spare part that's in that vehicle. So much easier if I have that visibility, then I can contact that person and get that part rather than go back to wherever the warehouse is. And that's the visibility AX is able to provide through CRM to the technicians through Field One. Just a quick show of what their full roadmap looks like, solution platform looks like from CRM with Field One, how they're using it for opportunity management, quotes, scheduling of the resources, van stock, etc. And then, when you think of AX, that's their financials, that's the inventory, the warehouse, the billings, etc. And then, of course, the productivity stack. You can see it's pretty amazing, the full breadth. And why did they pick Microsoft? For them, it's the one provider that provides end-to-end solution all the way through to BI. And when you think of the synergy and talking to multiple customers, the feedback, this was the best solution for them. So where are they going next? Where they're going next is the Internet of Things. So they want to put a device in every one of their machines, get the data. So they'll get data like, alerts, what is the health of the machine, what's the uptime of the machine, how much of utilization, and be able to do analysis based on different industries and which machines are going up, what are the client usage. Where they actually want to get to is places where they can do a couple of things. One, they can do risk analysis and do some preemptive things before there's a fault. They're able to get all of this data and based on that actually let the customer know which way to go. But send the technicians out there to get the fix for the customer. But also they're able to get, with their technicians' help, with the data available, do per usage billing now. So instead of going just a mass billing, just monthly billing, they're actually able to take it and go to a place where they can do per usage billing. So that's the vision with IoT. It's pretty impressive to see. So we talked a lot. I'm going quick here because we have limited time. We talked a lot about the intelligent customer engagement, but how do we also then on the back end be connected and optimized in this world, right? So when we look at customers in our segment, in our manufacturing distribution segment, we see a lot of islands of information. I'm sure in your organization you have this. There's a lot of, somebody has the planning, forecasting data. Somebody else has the pricing information. Then you got purchasing. They got their own little islands of information. Then you got, packaging, and you got routing. You got your plant people. They have their own, this is why we schedule. We can't use these islands, this data. This is our own rules that we have in our mind. And then you have the stockouts, things like that. What we try to do is, in this environment, come in and help you clean out those islands of information so you have one source of truth, if you will. And that's where our Dynamics AX solution comes in. You've already seen this. Just wanted to highlight once again, when you think about the four layers of AX, the topmost layer, you got the user interface, but it's also connected with Power BI. And when you think about the data, machine learning, IoT, it's all connected with our Azure stack and provide you the services. And then the business logic. The key about the business logic, the new AX that just got launched, it still has the same business logic as AX 2012 R3. So all the functionality that we provided you before in terms of manufacturing, in terms of production, in terms of HR, in terms of finance, in terms of supply chain management, retail, all of them still exist. So we're actually changing. We've changed the UI, we've changed the way the solution works, we've built new workspaces, but the business logic still stays the same. And then with lifecycle services, we're just taking it to another mile of excellence. We're continuously providing you the ability to manage these solutions in the cloud. And finally, the power of Azure, this allows you to scale up and down. Right? And you saw this already as well. I mean, it's a truly cloud solution, multiple cloud centers across the world. We'll continue to build this out across, there's actually a data center planned in the Middle East as well shortly. So you'll continue to see that. I did want to talk about this. I think I went too fast. So when you think about the total cost of ownership, we think about on-premises versus cloud computing. This is very interesting graphic that I saw that I thought you'd really like to see. When you think about an on-premises implementation, the 9% of your cost is the software licenses. Everything else, when you think about the customization, the hardware, the IT, the maintenance, etc., that's your big part that's underwater. That's your big glacier right there. Whereas when you start to look at cloud computing, there is the subscription fee, and everything else is managed by Microsoft. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to buy the hardware. You don't have to manage the hardware. You don't have to manage the upgrades. You just decide when you want that functionality and you instantiate it. And oh, by the way, the functionality already exists. You don't have to implement it. You just have to configure it to your needs and deploy it. That's the beauty of it. So that's the big aspect of the cloud that takes your and then what we have, I should have hit this part, but what we have is actually in our LCS we provide you TCO calculators, so total cost of ownership calculators, so you can actually do the math yourself and see which one makes the best for you. And oh, by the way, previous speakers have mentioned as well, we are one of probably the only solution provider on the planet that provides the same code base on premises and online. So you can do a couple of workloads on premises, other workloads in the cloud, and vice versa. Or you could start in the cloud, come back to on premises, or start on premises, go on into the cloud. Total flexibility. We're the only ones that can do that both on CRM and on AX. Okay, so I won't belabor this point. Multiple customers already live. JJ Foods is one of our customer references. JJ Foods is very interesting, one of the largest food distributors in the UK. What is interesting about them is they do everything from meat and vegetables to paper products like coffee filters and napkins. So when you think of the distribution, some of these are time sensitive, has to be at the time it's promised. Some of the other ones like paper, it can get a little bit delayed, it's okay. But they use Dynamics AX to make sure that they have visibility on where the deliveries are. Then they've taken it to another mile of excellence by connecting it with Azure. And now with Cortana Analytics, they're actually able to populate the shopping cart for their buyers when they come in. So Monday morning, JJ Foods is my supplier. I'm the customer. I come in, and it tells me, oh, you need to buy so much meat to get delivered here. You need to buy coffee filters. So my shopping cart is already populated, and I can then go change it as I need it before I ship it out. That's the unique aspect. And then lastly, I don't know if we have enough time, I have a quick video. Formula One fans out there, Lotus, and now it's called Renault. Our logos in the car. It's amazing. They use our dynamic solutions end to end. Do we have a minute to play this video? Let's see. I think you might have clicked the button.
And a global, highly mobile sport with ever-changing conditions, unlocking insights is critical to get from innovation in the factory to victories on the racetrack. Using the Microsoft Cloud and Dynamics AX, the Lotus F1 team has the power to transform mountains of data into meaningful insights that win races.
And the role that software plays at Lotus, it's a very big role. It's in a lot of different departments. It's very heavily involved in our planning. And then our transition from design to production has also got to be very slick, and then that's handled in software. That really plays a huge role. You know, being efficient there and getting as many concepts as we can through to the track quickly is really key to what we can deliver on track. If we can be efficient and develop faster than the other teams, then, you know, we're going to be better at the end of the year and take the reward for it.
In the world of F1, teamwork is essential. The Lotus F1 team uses Office 365 and Microsoft Link to connect the team across constantly shifting locations around the world. With Dynamics AX and Windows Azure, the team can manage and plan resourcing from concept through manufacturing and ultimately right down to the track. By adding Microsoft SQL Server to the mix, the Lotus F1 team is able to process the data and uncover those all-important insights. And do it all on a foundation of Microsoft Surface devices and Windows phones. This cloud turns data into victory. This is the Microsoft Cloud.
So, very impressive. They turn around. I mean, they make only 3 cars a year, but they make thousands of changes to the parts, and those parts have to get remachined, tested, shipped out to the next race, retrofitted, tested, all in a matter of a couple of weeks. And when you think of the thousands of parts that they do, it's amazing, their supply chain. So I'm going to wrap up now with just to summarize. What we've done with Dynamics is it's uniquely built. It's built together with Office. It's built for the cloud. It's redesigned. When you think about AX Online, the new AX, it's a completely new user interface, but it still has that same business logic, right? And it's built with Office, for Office, built with Azure, for Azure. And finally, just wanted to wrap up with this one slide. When you think of one Microsoft, we're right there at the center, as Satya says, Microsoft Dynamics AX CRM, right there at the center within the whole power of Microsoft. Thank you once again for being here. Hope you have a great rest of the conference. Take care. Thank you.